Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 100-Year Real Estate Investor. We're your host, Jake and Gino, and this is the show dedicated to long-term personal financial engineering. Gino, how's it going?
Jake, I don't know what to expect today. I'm doing great right now. We'll see how I end up, bro.
Well, let me unpack that. So it's the December 30th, 2021, and you're the only guy I could get, and I can count on you. The only guy I could get on the show today. And so thank you for doing that. Everybody else is out having a good time, and, that's great, but we're here grinding it out because that's what we do. And if you're out there listening on iTunes, you may want to check this show out on YouTube afterwards because Gino is looking like a G. He's got this black button down and this purple jacket. I mean, he brought his A game for the night before the New Year's. So, Gino, you're looking really good.
Thanks, bro.
Today, I'm going to ask you some questions, and I appreciate you being here. You don't know what's coming, but we're going to talk about mindset a little bit today. So, number one, let's talk about this. When did you adopt the 100-year mindset? When did long-term thinking really start to make an impact on you?
There's a couple instances in my life. I think the long-term mindset I adopted first time when we bought the restaurant back in 1994. May 17th, 1994, we bought this dump of a place, and I look at it and I'm like, this is going to take a long time to get this ship straightened out. And I got to pay back mom over here for these bills. Right. And that it started there, but it was still a short-term, long-term mindset. I was still in that W-2 mode where, hey, at the end of the week, I got X amount of money. I'm going to pay my bills, whatever's left over, I'm going to save. I would say the day that I adopted that long-term responsibility mindset, 2008. And I've told you the story before, picking up the book. For all of you YouTube fans, I'm picking up the book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. As soon as I read that book, I was instantly annoyed. I hit a resistance, as Stephen Pressfield would say, but I knew I was onto something because everything I read in the book, all of the things that I had gotten into my life at that point in my time were all about me. They were everything that I created was about me. If I wanted to create abundance, I need to start acting and thinking abundantly and taking responsibility. 2008, the Great Recession, I was looking for answers. Why is someone like Jake Stenziano out there making millions of dollars when I'm here at my restaurant struggling, working harder, making less money? How many of you out there feel like that? I sure felt like that back then. I felt like I was on a hamster wheel going back and forth. And I had to assess and dive into personal development and understand what other successful, wealthy people are doing. And I think one of the key traits of every wealthy person, and I'm not just talking about financial balance sheet, I'm talking about wealth, where we all define it a different way. I can talk about success as well. We all adopt that responsibility mindset, whether it's for your health, whether it's for your finance, whether it's for your faith, whether it's for your fitness, whatever that is, we need to be responsible in every aspect of our life that we want to excel in. Those who aren't responsible ultimately leave it to others to dictate. And I didn't want to do that at the restaurant because in 2008, I didn't want to say to myself, oh, it's up to the whim. It's up to the market. Well, what ends up happening? We have Uber, Grubhub, all these delivery places coming in. We have all these mom and pops that are going under because of the chains, whether it's Domino's, Pizza Hut. I saw that. I needed to become responsible and say, if I'm not scaling up this business, I need to get into a business that I need to scale up.
What happens when you leave it up to others? I think that was a very interesting point. When you're not taking responsibility for everything in your life. Do you have any examples of that?
Jake, it's scary. When you leave it up to others, first of all, you have fear.
But is that the mindset, though? Because I think a lot of people that do leave it up to others think it's scary to take on the responsibility. So if you can unpack that, I'd think it'd be great.
So for you to take on the responsibility, you have to educate yourself. You have to understand what's going on. That's the first step. But education times action equals results. I wanted multifamily, right? How do I do it? I wanted to take control of my investment. At that point, I was so focused on investing, but I didn't know how to invest. And I was leaving it up to others. How many of you out there send money to mutual funds and 401ks? Yeah. And all of the like? I started putting money into my whole life policies because I knew at one point I was going to borrow money out of them. That's when the train stopped. Stop sending money to the 401ks and start diverting it into my personal self. I started educating myself on what a true investor is. Leverage, liquidity, control. That's what we want as investors. The tax breaks. Stop complaining about paying too much in taxes. There's a code out there. There's a CPA out there that you can reach out to and say, how do I end up paying less in taxes? We all have the same playbook. We can all complain about it. Why do the wealthy pay less taxes? Because they educate themselves on how to do that. They open businesses. They become entrepreneurs. They get more tax breaks. Multifamily is a prime example. The government can't create affordable housing. So they leave it up to two jabronis like Jake and Gino to go buy multifamily properties, and we get cost segregation. It's all out there for everybody. Now, is it easy? Yeah, but it's not. I should say, is it simple? Yes, but it's not easy because there's a lot of work involved, a lot of legwork on the front end, a couple of years of education, meeting the right partner, saving up money to buy your first asset, running the asset, buy right, manage right, finance right. That's what we discuss. So for you to actually become responsible, there's always fear. We're always going to have some element of fear, but don't let that fear hold you back. And how I didn't let it hold me back was to become educated on the subject and to have an accountability partner that I'm speaking to right now.
Being a responsibility junkie, taking full responsibility for everything that comes into your life seems very hard, seems very scary on the front end. But I'm going to tell everyone right now, it's actually a lot easier, because when the job lays you off, when the life event happens, when you pick whatever the event may be, trust me when I tell you, you'd rather be in the driver's seat than being at the whim or a victim, whatever the case may be, or 401k dropped, 30% and I didn't see it coming in 2008, whatever the case may be. You're better off driving and being in control and taking more responsibility, putting in more effort than leaving it up to someone else. No one will ever, in my opinion, care as much about themselves as someone else will. Okay. It's up to you. It's your responsibility. So that's been a huge, huge piece of my success personally. Now, we're talking about long-term thinking. How has it positively impacted your business? And do you have any examples of that?
Before I answer that question, a big shout out to my grandma, Anna, Italian old lady. There's a saying in Italian, chi pensa per sé, pensa per tre. Whoever thinks for themselves thinks for three people. And that always stuck with me because hard, old school Italian lady was always on the farm. If you worry about yourself and you take care of your family, then ultimately we want to be charitable. We want to have impact on others. How am I creating Jake and Gino if I'm on the hamster wheel? How are 35,000 units by our students being closed if I don't take care of myself first, where I can go out there and have impact for others? So Grandma Anna's wisdom always stuck with me. Take care of yourself, become financially free yourself, and then you can ultimately help others. I was always helping others on a smaller scale when I was at the restaurant. I wrote the cookbook. We would go down to Harlem twice a year. We would give cooking lessons. I would donate whatever money I had. But now I'm having impact on such a larger scale because I can focus more of my efforts on it, whether it's, Rand Cares, and we're donating over 140,000 meals to Second Harvest, whether it's going out and donating to charities, to orphanages, whether it's just stroking a check to Second Harvest, whatever that looks like. If you could take care of yourself, ultimately be responsible for yourself. There are others out there that can't be responsible for themselves. They need help. Well, you can be the one there that's helping them. So didn't mean to go.
Dude, I've never heard that before. And there's so much damn truth to that. Because even if you look at our journey, the amount of positivity that we've put into others' lives because we've taken responsibility for everything that has come into our life. You said it multiplies by 3. I think it's much greater than that, actually. But damn, it's so true. So
Jake, think about it. Pandemic hits. Did we lay anybody off? We actually hired. We were responsible for our businesses. We had money set aside. We were running a lean machine. We never even thought to lay anybody off at the time. We were thinking about expanding. So if we weren't responsible, if we were running really good businesses, all of a sudden the people that are counting on us to come to work and to show up and to have a safe, affordable, clean place to work, they can't. They lose their job. They go on unemployment. And then the death spiral starts. So for me, those words of wisdom, have never rung true in these last couple of years. Worry about yourself, become responsible for yourself. Then ultimately you can have impact and share that impact with others. What was that question, Stenzi?
I appreciate you sharing that. So we're talking about long-termism in the beginning of the show. And I just want to know how long-term thinking has positively impacted your business. What are some, actual instances you can look back and say, we're thinking for the long term, and this happened because of it?
Every real estate deal that you and I have done, we look at it with the exit strategy of trying to buy and hold for a long time. I mean, our first deal was a difficult deal. It was 25 units. We didn't get paid the first few months. Sounds like your restaurant. Well, you know what? That's what I knew at the time. It was the I'm a mentality. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But it was a great learning lesson. Every deal that we've done, you don't get paid on the front end. It may take a couple months to start the cash flow, but then the real true wealth on that deal is after looking back and looking at these deals. I'll give you an example. On our second deal we bought in February, this second deal was July of 2013. It's a 36 unit property. Yep. We bought it and it had $300 and $350 in rents at the time. Today, those rents are $995 plus we're billing back for utilities. Now, if you think of the wealth generated from that one deal could set the average person financially free. One deal. That's all it took. We still own that deal. I could have had the shiny object syndrome and said, let's sell the deal, Jake. We've got great equity in this. What do you need is I want the short-termism. I want that money. Well, what am I going to do with the money? I've got to go find another deal. But I've already got a great deal here. I've refinanced this deal twice. I have no money in this deal. This deal keeps appreciating. The residents are paying down my debt. It's cost segregation. That long-termism, when you're starting a business, you have to understand it may take a couple of years for that business to start rocking and rolling. But once it does, you have one, as Bill Ham likes to say, on the conveyor belt. It gives you the ability to get that next one on the conveyor belt. And then the next one. Then all of a sudden you look back 3 years from now and you're like, man, I've got 5 or 6 deals in a conveyor belt. Having that long-term mindset in multifamily real estate will reward you.
I want to recap that a little bit. So you bought it in 13. We're going into 22. So roughly 9 years. Let's just call it 9 years. Rents go from 350 to 1,000 plus.
Mm-hmm.
Refied the deal twice. Now there's amortization pay down. There's been cost segregation. The spread of the owner draws continues to grow because while there is inflation, rents will go up. But folks, hear me out on this. The expenses are typically half, and I'm not a fan of rules of thumb, but typically half of what the income is. So if your income is growing at, say, 5%, but your expenses are growing at 5%, your gap, your delta, whatever you want to call it, is actually increasing. So you're making more money every year. All right. That's very important. So increased cash flows, tax benefits, mortgage pay down. Okay. Putting Gino's kids through college, financial security, it goes on and on. I mean, the benefits of, and putting back into the property and fixing it up, because here's the thing, thinking out to the long term, we put a lot of money back into this place. We fixed it up. It's a very nice place to live now, but it's reflected in the rents and you're seeing increased cash flows from it. So it's not this instant gratification mindset.
Jake, we bought this property for $850,000. I'm doing quick calculations at $90,000 per unit. It's worth $2.5 million. We've used debt, cheap money. We're paying it back
non-recourse
with cheaper dollars.
Non-recourse dollars.
It's on our balance sheet. So we've generated almost
and very low leverage too.
In equity. Exactly.
Yeah. How much?
$1.7 million in equity. So we've doubled the value. But when we bought the property, we only put 20%
we've more than
down.
We've more than doubled the value. You
Yes.
said how much we buy it for?
Triple the value. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we put 20% down on an $850,000 asset, which was $160,000. That $160,000 is turned into, as you can see, $1.7 million in equity. Think about that for a second. Nice. And that's just the equity component. That isn't even taking into consideration the owner draws every single month and the tax benefits.
Cash outs and the cash out.
And the cash outs. I mean, it's been an amazing ride. That's one deal. Can you imagine if you do one deal of 30 to 40 units a year for the next 4 or 5 years and you plan long term, you'll be set for the rest of your life.
Give me some of that. Can I get some of that? I want some of that. I got a couple more questions for you. We're having fun here. You touched on it a second ago. What's the opposite of the 100-year mindset, shiny object syndrome? And how have you seen that play out with people that have come into your lives and maybe some examples personally?
How many of you out there jumped from one endeavor to the next? That's me. I'm guilty. 2005, mobile home park. Got some money. Don't know what to do with it. Sounds like a great idea. Boom, in it. Lost a lot of money. 2007, mixed use property. Looks beautiful. Bam, in that. Don't know nothing about mixed use strip malls. Shiny object. 2008, like I told you, is when I said to myself, I love this multifamily. I can scale up. Now, I was fortunate that I had a job. I couldn't fix and flip homes. I already had a job. So I'm like, I have to find something that's quote unquote a little passive, that has a little scalability. So for me, jumping back and forth was where I made all of my mistakes. I didn't become an expert in that. That's the problem. When you jump around, you have what we call the get there-itis. You really don't focus on something. And when you don't focus on something, it doesn't grow. You don't become an expert.
Is there any thought process on the market? I mean, yes. when you're buying in, was it LaGrange or Billings or whatever in New York? Did you even think about the market at that point?
Well, I didn't know
in terms of like that market, right?
No, I didn't know what the three pillars of real estate were. I didn't know what the buy rate, manage rate, finance rate was. I wasn't buying on a cap rate. I was just buying because I thought it was a good investment. How many of you out there think
whatever that means,
investment?
Right?
Exactly. and that deal was on my balance sheet for 10 years. That was the bane of my existence. I mean, I want everyone out there to write this down. No deal is better than a bad deal. That deal brought me to Jake. It brought me to multifamily. I'm not going to say it didn't, but it was 10 years. And there was a lot of it was my fault of living hell, getting phone calls every week. The snow is not being plowed, having to put money into the property, having terrible tenants, not
Vacant
being able
units.
to rent it, vacant units. It was a struggle. It was a learning process. Things that I did on that property, I said to myself, I need to learn about market cycle. I need to learn about investing in certain markets. I need to focus on multifamily because multifamily is a basic human need. When you go into another downturn, people still need a place to live. Businesses go out. They don't want to pay you, but if they're living in your apartment, they need to pay. And if they're not going to pay, as you've seen what's going on through the pandemic, there's someone behind who's willing to pay that rent.
All right. So age does not matter here. Okay. There's been so many success stories of people in their 50s and 60s that finally hit it. And what do you say to the person that has not historically taken the long view and maybe has jumped around a little bit? What do you say to that person, Gino?
It's never too late. What you need to do is you need to find people who have this mindset and to start surround yourself with those people. Because if you're in your 50s, you've still got another 20, 30, 40 years of runway to go. You may be hitting your
maybe
prime.
More.
Exactly. You may be hitting your prime because I know in my 30s, I didn't have the wisdom. I'm looking back now at the things I did in my 30s. I wasn't mature or intelligent enough to do that. But as you get older, you've experienced a lot in life. You have a lot of wisdom. You don't need to be intelligent or smart, but you've seen how things work. You need to, personally, what I would do is start working with a life coach and start working on what your why is and what you actually want to accomplish in this world. Right. And you want to be able to adopt that mindset because you want to teach it to the next generation. It may be too late for you, but it's hella sure is not too late for my kids or for my kids' kids. So, and that's really, really important. Show them examples of entrepreneurs who started in their 50s, whether it was Colonel Sanders. I mean, there's so many examples out there who started really old. Ray Kroc, he started what in his late 50s. I mean, can you think about it? He was going around selling.
You think it was worth it by the business that he built and the life that he was able to experience in his 50s, 60s, 70s, et cetera? Like,
and talk about the legacy that he created. You may not like his food, but all the entrepreneurs, all the jobs that he's created.
I will never push away an Egg McMuffin, bro. Love me some Egg McMuffin.
Dude, I gotta push it, man. I got the quinoa going on. I can't touch the Egg McMuffin. But my point is, he had that long-termism. He didn't go in there and say, I'm going to make a couple of McDonald's stands and call it a day. He actually sat there, thought of a system, thought of something that was going to outlive him and outlive his kids and his grandkids. It's been around for decades and decades and decades. That's what long-termism is. It's never too late to adopt that mindset.
Man, be the next Ray Kroc. Get out there and get after it. You live once. Why not take a run for it, man? Let's go. Gino, can you give away PDF for the honeybee today? I think it's very appropriate. So we got Gino at jakeandgino.com. He's a nice man. If you email him, he sends our stuff out. We put a lot of work into this. It's a great book. It's a great journey in the honeybee. It's a parable. And if you enjoyed today's show, I think it could bring you value. So happy New Year's. Looking forward to 2022. I know that G-Dad has one more thing to say because he's full of energy. Close this out, big dog.
The only other thing I would say is go visit jakeandgino.com. and go to the dualassetstrategy.com. That's where our core businesses are. That's what we've been able to create with long-term generational wealth. And it's not just long-term generational wealth. I want you all to learn these skills because we want to talk about legacy wealth, but also legacy skills, because we need to teach this to the next generation so they can continue it along. Because we're talking about an era right now that we're not being taught financial intelligence. We're not being taught how to invest. We're being taught to give our freedom and our independence over to somebody else, whether it's our money, or whether it's our health decisions, or whether it's where we're going to live. You have control. Not making a decision is making a decision. You have the decision today to change your life. Don't waste that decision.
It's not only that, it's your responsibility as an American to take the freedoms that are given to you. We're so damn lucky with these freedoms. And you look at other places in the country, these people don't even have these opportunities, and we squander them on a daily basis. Look, maybe not for you, maybe not for everybody, but I know from, my own personal experience that taking the responsibility for everything that comes into your life is super, super rewarding, and it's definitely worth the effort.
Jake, everyone, let me end this by saying this. Everyone who's listening to this, you're part of the Jake and Gino community. This is resonating with you. I know it is. Start the new year off really strong. Think about what your why is. Start figuring out what your values are. Start adhering, as Julius Thomas likes to say, his values are his North Star. Your values are your North Star. Start making those principled, tough decisions that align with your values. Once you start doing that, that's part of long-termism. You will end up becoming successful for what you think success means.
You got me fired up. I'm going to do some push-ups. I'm officially out this time. Gino, thanks so much.
Thanks, Jake.